Action. Thank you. So, I covered balloon down and all the other stuff. Interest rates, mortgage interest rates. That's on page 192. Fixed rate mortgage. Alright, guys. Begin. Fixed rate. Mortgage is a mortgage whose interest rate remains fixed for the full life of the mortgage and never changes. So, when I was in the US, I had 8.75 fixed rate mortgage. It will never go up, it will never go down for the full life. The alternative is called ARM. And an ARM means adjustable rate. This sign is the same as the word above. Adjustable rate mortgage is a mortgage whose interest rate adjusts on a regular basis, usually once a year. Sometimes the ARM will be for a few years fixed and after that adjustable. So they make it 3 years fixed, okay, initially, so for the first 3 years it's fixed, and after that it begins to adjust. And the adjustment is usually based on some kind of an index, interest rate index, plus a premium, okay, so an index plus a premium. Okay, when you have an ARM, there's a possibility or the risk that the interest rates can jump a lot. And if they jump a lot, this will hurt the borrower. So usually an ARM will have a cap. A cap, interest rate cap. Cap is the maximum amount of interest rate increase per year. This is a guarantee to safeguard the borrower. So, if the benchmark interest rate is 3%, if they add on top 2%, if the interest rate went up 3 or 5%, they may have a cap of 1% per year. They'll increase their interest rate by 1% this year. Next year, if interest rates were up or went up, they'll increase it again by 1% a year. And then they'll increase it up by 1% a year. So there's an annual cap, which is the maximum amount that interest rate can increase per year. And there's a total or lifetime cap. And the lifetime cap is the maximum amount of interest that they can increase during the life of the whole loan. So maybe you start out at 5%, the lifetime cap will be 10, meaning another 5, so they'll be increasing you up to 10, and then it will get frozen at 10. But if interest rates fall below 10, yours will also fall. Now, there's a chance interest rates can go down to 3, 2, or 1, and you will, as a borrower, benefit. Okay? So, we have what is called a fundamental concept, one of the most important concepts in banking, finance, and financial institutions, not markets, institutions like banks and so on. It's called interest rate risk. Interest rate risk is the risk that interest rate will go against you and you will suffer a loss. Okay? Well, it's a little trickier. Let's say you're rich, you lend me money and I borrow. Okay? If interest rates go up, Okay? If my interest rate go up, then I take the interest rate risk. If interest rates go up, but my interest rates remain the same, then you, as the lender, takes the interest rate risk. So, let's write it down. For the fixed rate mortgage, lender takes the risk. Lender, we say, assumes or bears the interest rate risk. For an adjustable rate mortgage, it's the borrower who assumes the interest rate risk. Okay, but in an adjustable rate mortgage, the borrower assumes the interest rate risk, and the payments can increase and increase and increase and increase. So, interest rate risk goes down for the borrower, but it can result in a credit risk. So, the lender, by making an adjustable rate mortgage, lowers his interest rate, but increases his credit risk. Because as interest rates go up, the payment from $500 a month can go to $600, to $700, to $800, can go to $1,000. And when the payment reaches, let's say, $1,000, the borrower says, I can't pay anymore. And they stop paying. So suddenly, interest rate risk becomes credit risk. In other words, credit risk was caused by the interest rate risk becoming true. We say the interest rate risk materializes. Interest rates went up and the borrower went bankrupt because he took an adjustable rate mortgage. Okay, next one. Discount points. What is a discount point? Or simply, points are interest payments made at the closing of the loan. So, when you close the loan, when you get the loan, you make early payments on interest. And now I'll be explaining more. So, this means the following. This means that you made or you paid a lot of interest up front. When you pay a lot of interest up front, when you refinance, you will lose that interest. You will lose that interest. So, let's say, okay, you borrow $80,000. Okay, I'll pay you upfront interest. I'll pay you upfront interest $1,000, and then every month I'll be taking a regular interest payment. If after 3 months or 3 years I decide to refinance, that $1,000 of interest which I paid early as discount points will mean that I will lose the interest. So, when you make a payment against principal, it lowers the principal. It lowers your debt. But when you make a payment against the interest, when you pay back the loan, you will lose that interest. So, discount points or points will do two things for you. It will lower the interest rate. So, the lender will say, hey, if you pay us 2% of interest, your interest rate will be reduced from 8.75 to 8.50. And over the course of a loan, you can save a lot of money. So, if you really want to keep paying the loan, it is in your interest to lower your interest from 75 to 50. Now, that guy is quick and sharp. He can immediately tell you how much you're going to be saving every month on interest, right? On a $100,000 or $80,000 loan, you're going to be saving 0.25%, right? So 1% will be $1,000, okay? And this will mean that every year you're going to be saving $250, okay? So if you pay 1 point, you're going to be paying $1,000 upfront. And every year you're going to be saving $250. So in 4 years, you're going to save that point upfront, okay? So this will lower your interest, but it will cause refinancing. If you decide to refinance after 1 year or 2 years, you're going to have a refinancing loss. So you gain the lower interest rate, but you lose the benefit of early refinancing. Okay? So these are the points. Now, bankers are experts, and if you're a banker, the magic word is fees. You want to charge the customers. The job of the banker is to take money from the customer. And the difference between a banker and a good banker is that the banker takes the money, a good banker does not return it back. Just keeps it, okay? That's the difference. So, we come to the magics of fees. A fee is an amount of money which the banker charges for some sort of a banking service. Could be a transfer fee, withdrawal fee, ATM fee. You know, in Europe, the fee book is a book thicker than the textbook. They have thousands and thousands of fees. You want to go to the toilet? There is a fee. You want to print your statement? There is a fee. Okay. While you're waiting for your loan, you get a coffee. There is a fee, right? There's a fee for everything. For mortgages, it's better. For mortgages, there's a lot of fees. Number one, application fee. You go to the bank, you say, well, I'm interested in a mortgage. You say, oh, make an application. You file out, you fill the application. They say $30 application fee. Okay? So, you fill out a piece of paper and it's an application fee. The second fee, if there's going to be a real mortgage, the bank will do, it's called a title search. It's actually a title search fee. A title search means that the bank or a bank clerk will go to the county or the recorder's office and they will search and check for the title of the property and confirm whether the title is free and clear, if there are any other mortgages, if there are any liens or any claims. In other words, you want to see what is the legal status of the property. Next, title insurance. For the midterm, you should not confuse title insurance with mortgage insurance or with any other insurance. Title insurance is insurance that the title search, the results from the title search turned out to be false. So they'll make a title search, and 999 times out of 1,000, the title search will be right and everything will be correct. But sometimes there was a mistake at the recorder's office. Sometimes there was a claim that wasn't recorded. Sometimes there will be a lawsuit, and during the lawsuit, nothing was recorded at the title. But when the lawsuit finished and the judge says, your sister also has half of the title, the sister was recorded. But that was 10 days after the title was served. So there are always situations there will be something wrong with the title. Maybe 1 in 1,000. Maybe 1 in 5,000. Or maybe they check the next property, okay? Or maybe there were 2 properties. It's a one house, we call it in English a twin house. And 2 brothers, one lives in the one part, the other lives in the other part. When they check the brother's house, not your house. They made a simple mistake, okay? They didn't make the difference between, let's say the address was 59A and the other address was 59B. They checked on A but not on B. So either because there is a mistake or whatever, you want to insure the title. It doesn't cost much, okay? But it's a fee. It's $20 in the banker's pocket. Next one, of course, is appraisal fee. Appraisal is determining the market value of the property. Determining the true, genuine market value of the property. An appraisal could be internal. Internal means that the bank will have a bank employee. And the employee is going to go and check the property and see, is the property beautiful? Is it clean? Is it dirty? Does it have structural problems? What about the neighborhood? What about crime? So you will have an expert who will be able to evaluate the value of the property. Or that expert will be an internal employee of the lender or independent. It will be an appraisal company which specializes only in appraisals of real estate property values, and they'll be doing probably hundreds of appraisals every week, thousands or tens of thousands of appraisals every month. So they'll know the city. You just tell them, oh, that property, they'll already know the property in a mid-sized town or mid-sized city. A city of 100,000, they'll know the neighborhood, they'll know the area, they'll know the property. They'll have a very good idea. They'll tell you within 5 minutes what's the likely property value. And then they'll go in there within a couple of hours, they'll tell you a quite exact property. That's because that's what they specialize. That's the only thing they do. So the bank will charge you an appraisal fee, right? Next, loan origination fee. That's the magic of banking. In other words, sometimes you want a loan, 80,000, you pay the application fee, they'll search the title, they'll do the insurance, they'll make an appraisal, and nothing. They say, oh, you want to buy the property for 100,000, but the property is worth only 80,000. The best loan we'll give you is 65. And then they say, oh, if it's 65, I cannot pay 35. So nothing happens. It's the end of the story. But if everything works okay, you'll say, okay, the bank will give you, let's say, 75,000 loan. You can make a 25,000 payment. So they will actually give you the loan. It's going to be a loan origination fee. Is the fee that covers all remaining costs to make the loan. There's going to be a lot of costs associated with it. So this is the fee to cover all costs associated with generating or creating the loan. Next will be closing agent fee. Closing, I explained last hour, is the process of actually completing all the paperwork and completing the transaction. There will be an agent, usually a government agent or a business that specializes only in closing. They could easily do, meaning one person can do 10 closings a day. So they can do it every hour. Okay, so a closing agency could easily do 100 closings in a day. Now you calculate 250 days, 100. They could do 2,000 or 20,000 closings in a year. So when the time comes for closing, you call the closing agent. It could be a government employee, okay, or a special lawyer, attorney who's going to review everything from both sides. Well, that guy is going to charge you $50. Closing agent fee. Next, you got a review fee. So everything's done, the bank will say, well, now we got to review everything. All the paperwork, all the documents. They got to have a long list of that everything's filled out correct and proper and all the other stuff. So they're going to say we need to charge another $50 for the review. And that's going to be yet another fee, review fee. And then, of course, there are going to be other costs. Like, you want 2 copies of the mortgage contract. Sure, $10, and you're going to get an extra copy, right? Okay. So, whatever else you need, everything will cost you. And these are some of the fees. Okay, I already covered mortgage refinancing. I already covered mortgage refinancing. That's on page 194. Next one is amortization. I already covered the payment schedule. And now we get to the amortization schedule. Amortization schedule is a schedule, meaning a simple table which shows how much of each payment goes to principal and how much it goes to interest. Okay, the schedule is on page 197. So, when you make an $880 payment on interest will be 800. This is for first payment, first month. Okay? And the principal payment will be $80. Okay? So, the amortization schedule simply tells you, now the payment schedule says on June 1 you pay The amortization tells you that the 800 goes towards interest and 80 goes towards principal. For month number 2, you're going to make a payment of, again, 880. But now 799 will go towards interest and 81 will go towards principal. Okay? And then you go to payment 60. After 5 years, you're going to make a payment of how much?
5 years.
What's the payment?
880.
880. But now you've already paid some of the principal, so after 60, only 760 will be the interest, and the principal will be, what is it? 100, they say, no, the interest, oh, my mistake, the interest is 704. Let me double check. 762, 762, and 118. Okay. And then you can go further down after 10 years or 120 payments. You're still going to be paying 88. And then 700 will be going for the bank, and 176 will be going for you. All right, now you're coming to the perfect time to understand the most important thing in finance, which 99% of common people don't understand, meaning they understand the exact opposite. They get the exact opposite understanding of what's the truth. Which is that when you buy a house, you own a house, and when you make a payment, the payment is for you. Wrong. Dead wrong. Totally wrong. When you make an $880 payment, $80 go for you, and $800 goes for the bank. And they say the following, well, I can rent the apartment for $500, or I can buy it and own it for a monthly payment of $700. And they say, oh, it's better to pay $700 and own the apartment. You're the owner. And this is wrong, dead wrong, totally wrong. Why? Because you can live in the apartment for $500 and save $200, or you can buy the house and you can be paying $630 of interest. This interest goes to make the banker rich, in fact. And you're getting, when you pay, only $70 for you, which is principal. So, which one is better? Pay $500 and $200 cash in the bank, or gold, right? Better. Or you pay $630 interest and you pay $7, because they say, oh, the $500 of rent is wasted money. This is true. But $730 of interest is even bigger waste of money. Because it's not money going for you, it's money going to make the banker rich. You want to be on the banker's side, right? So, this is even worse. So, you want to buy the house only if the mortgage payment will be close to the rental payment. Otherwise, you'd better save the money. And if you save the money, you can use the money for anything you want. You can buy a car, can buy a motorcycle, can buy an iPhone or an iMac or an iPod, right? You can just save it in the bank. You can buy stocks, you can buy bonds. You can use the $200 any way you want. Here, 630 is pure loss. And that's the most important thing you're gonna learn today for your personal finances. Because people think, but I own the house. Well, that happened very, very, very unfortunately to my own brother, who is a physicist, who's supposedly genius in math, okay, and in physics and everything else. And he was paying a rent that will be in the capital of the world, which is Washington, D.C. A rent of $1,200. And he felt pain that he was throwing away $1,200. Washington, D.C. is like a very expensive city, one of the most expensive cities in the world. And instead he decided to buy a house for $360,000. Okay? And his monthly payment turned out to be $2,500, of which for him went how much at the beginning? 2,500. So he was getting against the principal $250, and he was paying for interest $250. Wow, that was a pure $1,000 loss a month. And in a year, that's $10,000. And in 10 years, that's $100,000. And he could be accumulating interest on that extra $1,000. Now, instead of accumulating interest on saving $1,000, he was paying $1,000 to the banker. Okay? So eventually, he would, when it's all over, he would pay $1 million, of which 360 will be for himself, and he will be paying the bank 700 or 640. Well, looking now, I'm switching back the topic. This was my brother's case, okay? Switching back to our mortgage, which is very important to understand for your future and your career, is the following. You do all the payments till 360 payments. That's a 30-year mortgage. Now we get to the most important part. And at the very end, $5 of the 880 goes towards interest, and this goes towards, what is it? 875 goes against the principal, and you draw a line. How much for you? This was a $120,000 loan. So you paid for yourself against your principal 120. So you got out of the loan 120. How much did the banker get out of the loan? 196, right? Okay, we write it in nice, beautiful red letters, big. 200,000 with the fees, right? So, that's it. Out of the loan, the bank got 200,000 in interest, and he got 120,000. Which means that on a long enough loan, the banker gets about twice in interest than you get in principal. That's the reason why bankers are rich and borrowers are poor. That's why You want to be the bankers and collecting the interest of 200 as opposed to be mortgage borrowers and paying the 200,000. Okay, that's the big difference. Okay, that completes page 197. Next, very common in real estate bubbles when the mortgage market gets, it's called frothy. People get crazy about real estate. Real estate prices go sky high, like they're today in Phnom Penh, right? People offering a 3-bedroom apartment for $400,000. This is insane, right? They were new condos and stuff. Anyway, so we have the concept of creative financing. Creative financing is the opposite of conventional mortgage. Here, you use different financial tricks to either lower the monthly payment or increase the borrowed money. And there are very many different techniques, okay? One they called automatic rate reduction mortgage. Automatic rate reduction mortgage is kind of like, if interest rates go up, the banker will not raise the interest rate for you. But if interest rates go down, the banker will lower your interest rate. This would be to the benefit of the borrower, but they're going to be an expense. They'll make your initial interest rate may be higher. Okay? They may be, it's called, so creative financing. Let's write, well, that's a very good question for the midterm. You know, give me or explain 5 different ways of creating financing. So, number 1 was automatic rate reduction. Mortgage. Interest rate can go down. In other words, it will be adjusted downward, but it will not be adjusted upward. Number 2, graduated payments mortgage. Is a mortgage where payments will slowly but steadily increase over time. Why? Maybe you're 25 years old, you're coming out of college, you got your first job, you're doing well, you're very smart, you expect your salary to go up and up and up and up. You may start with a $500 salary, but maybe within 3 years it's going to be $1,000 salary. And maybe within 7 years you're so smart, it's going to be $1,500 salary. Okay? So you expect your income to go up, and you can have a graduated payment so that your payments will go up. Early on, your payments will be low, and later on, they'll be high. Now, here's an example. Let's say I was a 30-year graduate student at The Ohio State. I was doing my PhD, studying economics, finance, and all those things. And I want to borrow for a car. And I want to have a graduated payment for the first 2 or 3 years, the payments to be low while I'm still a student. As soon as I graduate, the payments will begin to increase because I'll have a job and be able to pay more or better. So graduated payments will essentially expect the borrower to have a better, increased, improved income after, let's say, 5, 10, or 15 years, because the borrower gains knowledge and experience. That's normal, that's natural. Number 3, growing equity mortgage. Growing equity mortgage. Let's see what is growing equity. Okay, well, it's very, very similar. Okay? Originally or initially, it has the payments exactly the same as a conventional mortgage. And over time, the payments continue or begin to increase. So, mortgage, the initial payment are the same as conventional. And here's the second part. But they increase over the portion or over the entire life. Okay? In a graduated mortgage, the early payment may be lower than conventional, and then they can become higher than the conventional mortgage. Okay? This means you can borrow more and lower your payments early in the process. Next is not exactly creative financing, it's simply a second mortgage. Let's write it in red, it's relatively important. And it's very common with poor American people. Second mortgage is a true sign of genuine poverty. You know, poor people don't have money. Poor people owe money. When you owe money, when you have debt, you're below poverty. So, second mortgage is a second loan on the same property or secured with the same property, okay, which has a, we say now, junior lien. Junior lien. From last time, to remind, lien is a claim. So, the junior lien will be paid, or a second lien will be paid only after the first mortgage or the first lien is fully paid. Then whatever is left will be satisfied. So, second mortgages have a subordinated or junior claim to first mortgages, and second mortgages are significantly more risky than a first mortgage. But it's a way to get extra money to spend. Another creative financing, relatively recent, practiced extensively by the poorer people in the civilized world, is called home equity loan. And home equity loan is kind of like, pretty much exactly like a second mortgage. You gotta see what's the difference, okay? The home equity loan, again, is secured by the second mortgage or with a second mortgage, but it's a line of credit. Let's see how much time we have and when do we finish. Maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. It's going to be a few more. It's going to be 5 more minutes, okay? Line of credit is not really a credit. It is approval by the bank that you can borrow if you want up to a certain amount. So a line of credit of, let's say, 10,000 is not a loan for 10,000. It's approval to get a loan if you want to get a loan up to $10,000. So you want to get a $1,000, you can borrow against the line of credit. So you borrow 1,000, you could still borrow later another 9. Or you want to buy a MacBook, you can borrow 1,500 and put it on the home as a home equity loan. So you can borrow anytime, whenever you want, for whatever you want. It will be secured by, with a second mortgage or as a home equity loan. It will be secured. And you can borrow for a total amount of the loan, for a total principal, up to whatever the pre-approved amount is. Okay? You may never have to borrow. You don't have to borrow. Or, here's a very nice way. Maybe the parents will take a home equity loan to pay the student's expenses. So they'll take a 20,000 credit home equity loan, and they will give the student every month $500, $500, $500, okay? You don't have to borrow the 10,000. You borrow 500 and then he spends it. The next month you borrow 500 and then he spends it. By borrowing only 500, you save on all the interest. You pay interest as you use the money. Okay, you don't borrow. In other words, when you buy a car, you need the 10,000 all cash up front. But if you're a user, you don't need the 10,000 cash up front. You need to cover expenses over time. And if the tuition payment comes for $1,000 or $2,000, you take it extra out of the credit line. So you use the money as you need it. And with a long line of credit, usually you pay back as much as you can when you can. All right, we'll take a break up to here. Next time you'll remind me how far we got, right?